So we don't know if they're an Indian bone. They're probably some tribe, probably Gabrielino Indian. So they contacted the diocese and they said no more burials here, because I was expecting to get buried here, to be honest with you. So I'm going to be buried probably at the Resurrection Cemetery. But Los Angeles Saint. So we're trying to get some miracles, and we want to praise Al wishes for a miracle that's bona fide him. That'd be great, because if he gets canonized, and beatified and canonized, he would be the first canonized saint of Los Angeles Diocese. So he was he worked with the stars too, Loretta Young and some various other people. I know, yeah. So us seasoned people who are boomers and the silent generation know what I'm talking about. If you are a millennial or a Gen X, you might not know what I'm talking about. So yeah, people come here all the time, ask for prayers and stuff like that. One lady said she might have a miracle, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to use it.
So moving that 20 years ago, Father knew her personally. Now he knows her professionally, and she is responsible for almost all of the executive fundraising at St. Michael's Abbey. So there really is a cataclysmic circle here. And having been head of Disneyland publicity for the 40th, I launched the Circle of Life campaign. I brought Buzz and Woody to Disneyland, and 30 years later, Sherry is part of the whole process again. So imagine how God put this in motion 60 years ago with Greg and my dad at Loyola here, 40 years ago with this group and Martin Montgomery, 30 years ago when I was head of publicity at Disneyland, and now Sherry's our guest star, and she was there on the first day, and it all came together because this group of men and this faith, this pillar of faith that we have, is what I live every month for to come on the third Thursday. I didn't even know the third Thursday was my mom's birthday until 2 days ago, when Dennis's mom goes, "Isn't that your mom's birthday?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, of course." So that's what I'm saying. His mom and my mom put together a pretty cool Italian Catholic, and me, the Irish Catholic. And I think that's part of the melting pot that we need to get back to. So it's my deep, deep distinction and pleasure to say thank you to Kurt, thank you to your dad, Guy, thank you to our dads, Greg, and really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I could not be anywhere else tonight. And happy birthday, Mom, I love you. So sit back. Dennis is going to play the 3-minute Meet Father Darren. He's going to talk about how wonderful his faith is to him. And then we have a 10-minute clip from the Disney special that we just finished producing. So take it away.
Thank you, Michael.
Father Darren Merlino, an Italian-American priest born in Santa Maria, California, who grew up in the Tony town of Santa Barbara and transplanted to Surf City, Huntington Beach, becoming a Southern California beach boy of the 1980s. Who knew that the larger-than-life, loud and proud Italian gentle giant would eventually be called to be a media priest? He has traveled all over the world to over 5 continents and 16 countries. From London to Rome, Mexico to Canada, Spain to Portugal, Greece to Honduras, Japan, and even Israel. All these experiences have made him who he is today. In 1987, the Lord called him to the priesthood to surrender his lush lifestyle, and he answered yes. He has always felt called to use the media as a way to evangelize and reach the world, knowing that this is the most impactful way to change hearts, minds, and souls of people who watch TV, go to the movies, and listen to podcasts. That's why he created the innovative TV show, Hound of Heaven, based on the famous 1890 poem by Francis Thompson. He wants to take you on his adventure with him as we look at photos that document what a crazy fun life he's had and is still having today. While most people his age think of retiring, God's call to Father Darren is as loud as ever. He's even been nicknamed the Evangelizer. Having fun being a priest is one of the most joyful things he's experienced throughout his life. He's always found joy, even in the hard times, by looking at the brighter side of life. Father Merlino is following in the steps of a lot of heroes, like Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen, Paulist producer Father Bud Kaiser, and pioneering film and TV priest Father Patrick Payton. These predecessors have paved the way for Father Merlino's media ministry. His uncle John won the Emmy for The Winds of War, and his cousin Francesca won all 5 of her Emmys before Father Merlino was even ordained. In fact, Francesca attended Father Darren's ordination into the priesthood, which was the first ever broadcasted on the internet in U.S. history, taking place in 2000 at the landmark San Gabriel Mission in California. Growing up around Hollywood, Father Darren continues to tap into the potential this medium has to evangelize and touch hearts. Today, Father Merlino sees himself as that priestly presence in the media. His mission is to preach the gospel using all forms of media to reach the ends of the earth. Father Merlino knows he cannot do this alone. He needs fellow donors who want to be disciples of faith, who want to be collaborators in the mission to evangelize, and who want to be part of the tsunami wave of change in our culture, touching hearts from ages 8 to 88. Father Merlino cannot do it without you. Help Father Merlino change the culture. Please consider being the change with him. Thank you for your consideration and contribution. We thank you for your financial support of Catholic Media Missionaries. God's blessings to you and your families. Father Darren Merlino and his production team look forward to working with you soon.
Okay, let's see. I might need some light. So, St. Anthony Claret came up with this incredible phrase that we as Claretians use. I don't want to say ad nauseum, but it really helps us focus on how we evangelize and how we look at bringing souls to Christ. And it's this: to preach the gospel in urgent, timely, and effective ways. I think it's the most brilliant statement from any saint on how to evangelize our culture ever. I don't know anybody who says it perfect. Why? Because the message is always the same, but the method always changes. Back then, it was verbal. St. Paul talks about, I preach the gospel, and you are my children through my preaching, the oral preaching. My favorite story is when St. Paul is preaching upstairs. Forgot the kid's name. He's sitting on the windowsill, and St. Paul starts Mass around late evening. The kid falls asleep during St. Paul's homily, falls out the window, hits the ground, and he dies. It's in the book of Acts. You can read it. I think it's chapter 19. St. Paul gets up in the middle of Mass, goes down, raises him from the dead, and finishes Mass. That's my favorite story ever. Now, I've never had to wake anybody up at my homilies because they're already at dead sleep and I just let them sleep through it. The joke I always tell, the priest will always say, hey, how was Mass? I go, hey, they all slept very well. The idea of using media to preach the gospel is like breathing. Of course you got to do that. I'll have, maybe if I'm really lucky and the church is full, maybe if the church is full, at my ordination we had 1,000 people there. So that's like maxed out, right? So the average Sunday is between 300 to 500 people. But with media, you can have 500 million people watch what you do. And so back in 2010, I had learned about Steven Spielberg had created a foundation
called the Shoah Foundation. And the Shoah Foundation would interview all the Holocaust victims and hear their story. They had all 55,000 at that time, back in 1995, around that time. And I said to myself, you know what? Why can't we have a Catholic version of that? Why can't we have like a Catholic log of all these great Catholics and their stories about how God works? And so for years and years, I could not come up with a title for my show idea. And I kept going, it was a total block. And then I went to, I was doing something very holy. I made a pilgrimage to this local sushi restaurant. And I started talking to my friends at the restaurant there in front of a California roll. And I go, you know, I have this idea for this show. I want to interview all these famous and notable Catholics. And, you know, I want to talk about how God is the hound that comes. He's the hound of heaven, and he comes down and he pursues us. And I go, oh, that's the name of my show, The Hound of Heaven. It happened like in 30 seconds. And for years, I couldn't come up with a name. And right in the middle of that delicious sushi, I came up with the idea, Hound of Heaven. And I love Francis Thompson. I think it was Bishop Sheen who gave me the first introduction to the Hound of Heaven poem, which was written by Francis Thompson in 1890. It is considered, according to not so well-known author Oscar Wilde, Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, all influenced by Francis Thompson, said that this poem, The Hound of Heaven, is the greatest poem in English ever written. And when you read it, it's in a lot of Old English, but sometimes it's hard to follow. But it talks about how Francis left God after he left the seminary, became a drug addict, was sleeping around, and some prostitute got him out of the streets, brought him to her house, nursed him back to health. He goes to the Abbey, has a conversion experience, and now we have this great poem called The Hound of Heaven. And it's all about how God pursues us. And I wanted that image to be a part of this show, because none of us is here because we chose it. God chose us first. And that's what I wanted everyone to know with this particular show, The Hound of Heaven. Because everybody will agree that God always been pursuing us. And so that's why in the middle of that delicious sushi, I came up with that has to be the name of the show, because I want that imagery of God being the pursuant and we are the pursuee, and that we are graced and gifted because of that. And so I knew that if I can interview these famous and notable Catholics, they already have a built-in audience. And that, wouldn't you want to know about an original Musketeer, or Vince Ferragamo, or the guys who did the movie Unplanned and Nefarious, who you saw pictures of, Mike Sweeney, Mike Scioscia, Trevor Williams pitches for the Nationals, Bruno Serrato, the Catarina Club, feeds 5,000 people, children a day in his pasta program. Who wouldn't want to hear these stories? So you saw a picture with me dressed as a priest with a guy who dressed like a priest with that funny looking kumbaya Mexican stole. That was from the movie Nefarious. Did some of you got the joke? It's good. And so that was my idea, by the way, that stole for the movie. That's another story. That's another whole talk. So that guy who played the priest in the movie Nefarious, in real life, is an atheist. So they had an atheist play a priest in the movie. Wow. And they had the priest play a prison guard, me. They said I looked more like a prison guard than a wimpy priest. Apparently, being 6'4", I don't look too wimpy. When you see me on camera, it's pretty intimidating. So, Daniel, I had a rough cut of the first season. And I go, hey, Daniel, that's his name, I played the priest. I go, hey, Daniel, take a look at these shows. He's an atheist. That's the guy I'm going after. Tell me what you think. He watched all 6 of them within a couple days. I go, you're done? Usually people take weeks, they have a few moments here, a few moments there. He goes, man, do you have any more? Do you have any more? I go, no. I wish I had 100. But I didn't, I only had 6. The show with our first rough cut. And he goes, man, that guy, Trevor Williams, what a great story. I was just so moved by his story. And then I can show you my text. Every 3 or 4 months, hey, you got more of those shows? This is an atheist. He acts on Broadway in New York. He's an excellent actor. And he's always asking, do you have more? You know, that's exactly what I wanted the show to do, was to reach the unchoir members, the non-choir members. We're already converted. And you'll like the show because you like the stories of the guys. But if I can get a non-believer to be intrigued by a Catholic and their faith, that's exactly what the show's for. Michael and I, we were talking to a guy at a local studio around here, and we were showing him one of our episodes. And the guy who did the voiceover of that sizzle reel was the episode they were watching. And that we were showing it to him, and then he stopped it. His father, and he's an atheist, his African-American buddy, both walk out. He was a Protestant, really nice guy, and then they leave the room. I thought for sure they didn't like the interview. And the atheist goes, I love this guy's story, Danny's story. This is an amazing story. I want to watch the whole thing. And I'm going, okay, my idea, my instincts was correct. These stories will change people's lives. Can you imagine if I had not made these shows, where those guys might have gone? Who knows? Maybe they get converted. Maybe they become a Christian. Maybe they become Catholic. They're already not practicing. In fact, Michael and I will tell you, the guy who was the atheist lost his house in the fire, went to his house where it's all burnt to crisp, took one of the logs, took his thumb, took the ashes from the log, and on Ash Wednesday, did the sign of the cross on his forehead. And he even told Michael and I, he goes, maybe one day I become Catholic, right?
Yeah, it was really amazing.
So, if we practice what we preach, we have to do things like this. And one of the things that as Catholics we don't do well is support. Like the Mormons, the evangelical Christians, they support themselves very, 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 very well. I mean, look at The Chosen. If it was made by us, nobody would support it. We have to support us. If we don't support us, we will not have great stories, we will not have great conversions, we will not have great content. In fact, if you look at all the great directors and all the great actors in the old Hollywood, guess what? Guess where they were going to church? Blessed Sacrament down in Hollywood. They were all Catholic. John Ford. John Wayne becomes Catholic on his deathbed. Loretta Young. I mean, you look at Frank Capra. I mean, you look at all the great writers and all the great actors and all the great directors, all Catholic. Why? Because we have the fullness of truth, and we have the fullness of way we can look at the whole universe from a holistic point of view. And so, Catholic Media Missionaries came into existence because I came up with the idea that we need to use the media and go full speed ahead with it, not just flirt with it. So the tagline for Catholic Media Missionaries is this: our parish is the world. Our parish is the world. If they have Wi-Fi, they've got a device, we can reach them. And because they are the church of the fallen, because they're on their devices, the church of the screen or the church of the device, whatever you want to call it, because they're here on their device, how do I have them become the church of the chosen? Like, get back into church or to become Catholic? We have to create content that has Christian, Judeo-Christian, Catholic theme. It doesn't have to be in your face, but even the stories that we have with our Hound of Heaven interviewees, they're not all of them like, I prayed 12 hours in the church. They're very human stories. And because of these human stories, I know for a fact that once we start broadcasting these shows and we start showing them, and especially when they show them to their audience, like Joe Mantegna from Criminal Minds. That was it. I met him at a celebration of life. If you ever saw the movie Goodfellas, Paulie, the guy who used to chop the garlic in the movie, I was asked to do a blessing at his celebration of life in Hollywood at the museum over there on Highland and Hollywood Boulevard. A friend of mine was the cousin of Paul Sorvino. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go up to Joe. I said, Joe, My name is Father Darren Molina. We met in 2006 when you were on Joan of Arcadia. I got a TV show where I interview famous and notable Catholics. I'd like to have you on my show. 15-second elevator pitch. I said, no problem. Contact my assistant. So we contacted him eventually, and we had an hour and 45-minute raw conversation. I thought it was an hour. Joe and I felt like I was talking to an uncle from Italy. It was an amazing experience. We edited it down to about an hour and 15 minutes. Joe might not be a strong Catholic, but boy, he had a lot of great wisdom. And Sherry, you're going to hear some of the stuff there. I'm telling you, every story touched somebody different. Like, some of the stories, like, I didn't think they were wow, but you have somebody who listens to that story, they go, oh, I can relate to that. And so, we as Catholic men have to really kind of be like spiritual leaders, and so at Catholic Media Missionaries, which I've taken this. Now, I am a boomer by 3 days, or a very old Gen Xer. I was born December 29th, 1964, and you know Santa Maria. So I didn't know I was a boomer until many years later. As I always like to say, I was a late boomer. He got it. And so as a late boomer, I can relate to the Gen X very well. And so one of the things that we can do as Catholics as well in media is influence the way the stories are told. I can't go into detail of the name of the movie yet because Michael and I are attached to it, but I can tell you what happened. He gave me a script. I read the script and said, hey, I think you should help me produce it. And I go, well, it's got GD this and JC that and F this and S that. I go, I can't promote stuff with language like this. If you could take the language out, I'll get every Italian, every Catholic, everybody I know, which is quite a few tens of thousands of people, and I will support this film, and I will produce this film with you if you could take the language out. You know what they said to me? Yes, we'll take it out. Yes. We have leverage. Why? Because we have a pocketbook. Boycotting, people go to movies. And so, as Catholics, we can also use our leverage as consumers as well. And so, I thought this was 1940s when I was talking to this group of people, like, oh, here, I'm Father Darren, they're not going to listen to me, they don't care what the Catholic Church teaches. But I told them I got leverage. I'm in 72 countries. I got 500 parishes. I got 3,000 priests. I can be all over the world. We're in every major continent except Antarctica. That's a lot of leverage, and all the people in Hollywood, oh, this guy's got contacts. So we can use that leverage to promote Jesus Christ. Amen? Amen. So during COVID, a couple things. I had to take care of my mom for health reasons she had before she passed. But I also wrote a book on my 30-day silent retreat, my Ignatius silent retreat. So even when things are shut down, I cannot sit still. I cannot waste time. I literally remember it was March 17th, everything shut down, like 16th, whatever that Sunday, right afterwards, everything got shut down. I remember I was at spring training at the Dodgers on March 11th. I went to see the last game, and then March 12th, everything got shut down because of COVID. I said, well, when I got back, I said, I'm going to write my book. And so I wrote my book about, the reason I bring that up, I figured, yeah, maybe a couple people will read it. I just wanted to write the book so I'd have it done. I got artists from all over the world to create original illustrations for the book. I went on my Facebook, I told all my high school buddies, I said, hey, buy a book. I'm thinking nothing of it. And my buddy John gets the book. Yeah, I know Darren, we haven't seen each other in 30 plus years since high school. I'll buy it. He got converted. He goes, I gotta talk to you. So we were in Huntington Beach, we went to the local Mexican restaurant, we started talking, and he goes, I'm Catholic. I never saw you at church when I was in high school. Then I found out he was going through, his parents were getting divorced, that's why he wasn't going to church. And I go, oh, do you have your first communion? No. Are you confirmed? He goes, no. Because I asked him, he never would have gone to first communion. He never would have got his confirmation done. Because that book, which I had no idea that it was going to change his life, and it did. I gave him his first communion on Holy Thursday, and then after that, a couple of weeks later, his dad was killed by a drunk driver, and then he got confirmed, and he says, "Dad, if I had not become Catholic, I don't know how I was going to handle my dad's death." I'm going, wow, and I just wrote the book just to get it done. Fast forward, one of my artists in the book sent the book to her nephew back east. Not really practicing. He liked it. He gave a good review. Now he's practicing his faith. So we have to use media, and that's what we do at Catholic Media Missionaries, is that we believe that our parish is the world. And believe it or not, gentlemen, the more you invite people, like you, for example, how many times were you invited before you became Catholic?
12 times.
Exactly, 12 times. See, between 10 to 15 times you have to be asked before you say yes. Perfect number. When you said 12 times, I was expecting in that number, and you just nailed it. Thank you for making me look good. I appreciate it. So, I think that because Hollywood has shot itself in the foot, we know that it's already lost its luster. But to quote, I don't know if it was Trump, if there's blood on the street, buy real estate. Right now, as Catholics, there's a void here, there's a vacuum. And we need to pursue that fast. Yeah, there are faith-based people who are starting things here in the LA area. There's no more influential place in the world as Hollywood or LA, period. End of story. Everywhere I go, doesn't matter what country I go to. I'm in the middle of Spain, October, right after the Dodgers win the World Series. We're at this silent cloister Cistercian monastery for women. Our priest, who we were on retreat, he sets up an appointment with us. We meet the sisters. The guys are going, "Oh, I work at this mission, I work at that mission, I work at this mission, I work at that mission." I go, "Yeah, I work in LA, I work in media and television and film." All the sisters wanted to talk about was, "Do you know the guy from The Chosen?" The youngest one had a crush on him, you could tell, because she was really excited about that. I just thought it was the funniest thing. They only care, people, I'm telling you, media is what gets people excited. And documentaries are good. I mean, obviously that documentary he worked on is great, but I'm saying people like to be entertained and told a story and change their lives at the same time. So that's kind of where we want to use story to change the mind and the hearts of the people, and especially the non-believer. And I'm telling you, I believe, because I've seen it already, that the stories that we have from the people that we've interviewed so far and the future ones, I don't know how we have great writers, which is, I'm one of the guys who write the questions, but a lot of times I can't really write a question until I hear what they say. So the follow-ups have always been helpful too. And sometimes I just kind of goofed around with Vince Ferragamo about the past that got him to the Super Bowl in 1980. You got to watch that answer. I did not expect that at all. Like, wow, I was just kind of goofing around with the question, thinking it was, he was going to say, I just threw the ball and closed my eyes, kind of thing. No, it wasn't that at all. It was a great answer. So I believe that we have that opportunity here. When you take a flyer home and look at it, and you can kind of get an idea of what we're trying to do at Catholic Media Missionaries, we are going to change the world. I am at the age of 60, which is young for some, but I'm talking to all my friends now. All of my friends are retiring. They're like, "I'm done." I'm like, "Dude, I'm a Catholic priest. The only time I'm done is when I'm 6 feet under. I don't stop. I've never quit." I was even asked by a priest once, "I need you to play 50% because your athletic ability is too much for these guys at the seminary, and you're making them look bad." And I go, "Tough." I also said some other word, but tough. I go, "I'm not going to play 50% because that's not how I grew up. And as a Catholic man, you never tell a Catholic man to only half try. Never. Especially, no. I'm not stopping until I'm 6 feet under. If I can live as long as Clint Eastwood and do what he's doing at 95 years old, that's what I'm going to do until I'm 95 years old. Is to make as many projects, movies, whatever I can do to promote the kingdom through entertainment and through this TV series. That's what I'm going to do until death do I part. I'm going to be blunt. Your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, and your great-great-great-grandkids is who we're going after. We want them to come back to faith. I already know the statistics. I know that the Zers and the Alphas and the Millennials are disenfranchised with Jesus and the church. However, the Zers are a little bit more attracted to Catholicism in the traditional ways. Great. But that's 25, 30%. What about the other 70? If I and my team is to evangelize your prodigy, your issues, your kids, and your grandkids, and your great-grandkids, you will become a solution to this severe problem of disaffiliation with Jesus Christ and his church. I mean, it's bad. I'm 6'4", so most people don't want to get in a verbal discussion with me because they know that I can intimidate them and I can just stand over them like this, and I use my height to my advantage. And believe it or not, I never used to do that. I was teaching at Mary Star High School, and the vice principal came in, he goes, you know, I watched you teach a class, you do a good job, but you don't use your voice or your size at all. So once I started using my voice and my size, the kids started being more intimidated. I said, oh, I like this. This is good. I like to do that. But I think that when you use your gifts and talents for God's greater glory, which is the Jesuit saying, you can change the way people live. I don't want time. Okay, we got a couple minutes here. Okay, so right now, I'm just going to be real. I want to be aggressive about creating more content. One of the disadvantages of the streaming culture is people binge watch. That's a bad thing and a good thing. The bad thing is I have to have 15 to 20 shows ready to go. Bad thing is I have to find the finances to do that. And here I am 7 years later, and I'm still trying to get that first 12 up and running because I'm not a multi-million-dollar corporation that has millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people working for me, and I can get things done in a week. If you are interested and want to help me be a solution to this spiritual problem, on the flyer is our information. One of the things that's very unique about our ministry is if you want to participate in the actual production of the TV show, depending on the size of the donation, we can make you not only an executive producer, you can actually be on the set and meet the people we interview. I've had that on a couple of occasions. Where they got to meet, John Montaigne and stunt double, Vince Ferragamo. They got to be on the set because of their generosity to make these things happen. I think because not only do we like unique experiences, but then you can say, I participated to make sure this episode was made, and you have no idea whose lives are going to be changed. Is it going to be the atheist actor in New York City? He's going to be devouring our episodes. I would not be surprised if Daniel says, hey, I want to become Catholic. I would not be surprised. So, prayerfully consider, not only monthly, but if you want to participate in an actual episode, we can talk to you privately about that. If you go on our website, my book is there also. It's called 30 Days Unplugged, How a Catholic Priest Turned Off His iPhone and Took a Call from God. For 30 days, God's imagination just flooded my soul. The best 30 days of my life. I wish I could do those 30 days for the rest of my life. I was crying, I was laughing. I had such an amazing experience on that 30-day Ignatius retreat. So what's good about that particular book is that none of you probably have the time to spend 30 days away from home. You can actually now do the 30-day silent retreat at your house. You can have it. You have the book. I have all the readings. I even give you stuff my experiences, but you have everything there, and you have that for the rest of your life, and you can do the 30-day retreat. I've had people do that. I've had people read all the way through it. It's a great gift. And if you buy one at the next meeting, I'll even sign it for you. I won't even charge you, maybe 10 Hail Marys. But at any rate, prayerfully consider, we are on the cusp of what he was talking about earlier, of Sherry, is, I believe, that episode will open up the doors. And there's a lot of things we can say about Disney. They go, why would you want to be involved with Disney? Why wouldn't I want to bring Jesus to Disney? Why wouldn't I want to do that? Did Jesus not hang out with sinners? Did he just hang out in the synagogues? No. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm not afraid to go in any room. But it's more important that I get to that room. And that's what I want to do. I'm not intimidated by that. I'm not afraid of it. And we have to go to those rooms, because I don't know whose life is going to be changed because I went into that room. What if that person gets converted, becomes a Catholic, and now changes, and they become a bigwig, they're a bigwig in Hollywood, and then all of a sudden the tsunami starts getting slowed down, and we start turning it to go the other way. God has turned the river to go the different directions many times. He has split the Red Sea. He has split rivers many times. He can do this if we really want him to. So I thank you for your time. This is how we do evangelization through media. Is we use story, we use film, we use books, we use all forms of media to change people's hearts, minds, and souls. And if you want to be a part of that, you have my flyer, and we can talk afterwards. And I would love for us to collaborate so we can change this world together. Amen. All right, Dennis now is going to show you a little clip of Sherry Alberoni. Not only was she at opening day of Disney, which she's the only person alive probably could say that, and be a Mouseketeer at the same time.
In this episode, I interview a woman who actually was at the opening day at Disneyland. Then a year later, she became an original Mouseketeer. I introduce to you Sherry Alberoni.
Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E, Mickey Mouse.
Donald Duck.
Mickey Mouse.
Donald Duck.
Forever let us hold our banner high.
Hi, hi, hi.
Come along and sing our song and join our family. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Well, Sherry Alberoni, thank you so much for being on our program. I'm honored.
We've been friends for a very long time.
Long time.
Yes. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, because this is kind of a show where we do a career and background, but also how God works in our life. But I got to hear the story of how you got to be an original Mouseketeer, because I think it's such a fascinating story.
Well, it's kind of
it kind of moves around a lot. I started working in show business when I was about 4 years old, and my mom had been a dancer in vaudeville, and back in Kentucky. So she had bronchitis, and the doctor said, "You've got to go west. You've got to go to Arizona or California." So they did, and real close to where we lived was a dancing studio. And my brother and I were always dancing. My mom always had music on in the house, and we were dancing to it. And I said, my aunt was there, and she said, "Sherry, do you want to be on TV?" And I said, "I'm not getting in that box." You're a super little kid. I said, "I don't know." So they explained it to me, and I said, "Okay." So I started going on interviews, and the way those would come up, there would be hundreds and hundreds of kids. And what the studios, all the studios did, when they had a part for a child, they would go around the country. They would, they'd look at little kids and some agent. "Your kids are cute. Would you like to put them in show business, to be on TV?" And my mom said, "Well, let me ask them." So we said, yeah, I want to do that. And so I started doing baby commercials and little modeling and things like that, and small parts. And then in 1955, Mickey Mouse Club came on. It started on October the 3rd, 1955. And it coincided with July 17th, which was the opening day of Disneyland. And so, one was built to back up the other, and so we would go down to Disneyland on weekends and do shows and all. But anyway, I got ahead of myself. My brother and I started doing little bits and pieces, and then they said, "Well, we're looking for some new Mouseketeers." And they told my agent that Sherry's a little young, but let's see Roy. So my mom took my brother Roy, who was 2.5 years older than I am, took him to the studio, and Walt Disney loved him and said, "But do you play any instrument other than the drums? Because we already have Cubby." And my brother said, "No, but I have a little sister who can play the trumpet and do a tap dance at the same time." So Walt said, I've got to see this. I've got to see that. It's hard to believe. Walt, laughed, as everybody did. And I used to have a lisp. And, when you're 6, 7, it was really cute. So the director was in there, and he laughed and had me say all these different lines with, using the letter S. And so anyway, they liked me. And I got the part, and that was, now we're talking into 56.
So on July 17, 1955, you were at the opening of Disneyland.
We go, my whole family, there are 10 of us, and we go, I would say, once a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do. And we love it. It's the happiest place on earth.
You're probably one of the few people in the world that can actually say they were there at the very opening.
There's so many wonderful stories about that day, that opening. One thing was that, like I told you earlier, it was so miserably hot. And the women on opening day, they would wear high heels, and their heels would get stuck in the asphalt, I guess it is. And this one guy and his wife, she's stuck, and they're trying to help her out. And apparently there was a strike. The union told Walt that he could have his choice between water fountains and the bathrooms. And he said, "Well, let's do the bathrooms." And he got his guys with big 50-gallon, things on their back of water and a bunch of cups, and they walked around offering water to the people. He said, "I think, they really need the water." The first day it was fun, and we were just amazed. I remember my brother and I, everything was, "There's a rocket ship," and look at that train. Everything was just amazing. It was amazing that they could come up with this stuff. I was a red feather kid for the state of California, and I had to sell, you know how the brownies would sell the cookies?
Right.
Well, we had to sell Thin Mints. The little campfire girls did that. So it was great fun, and I would, you know, be out there, and then at all times, my mom and dad would be at the, you know, standing a few feet from me, and I'd be doing my sales pitch. Somebody would come by, and I'd, you know, would say, please, sir, can I have some more, type of thing. And I said, this is my last box, and then I can go home.
And get 10 boxes over
Yeah,
here.
right, exactly. So anyway, so my prize for that, for selling all that candy, was to go to Disneyland on opening day.
Wow.
So I wasn't a Mouseketeer then. So my mom and dad and my brother and Roy and I all went to Disneyland. And it was, the traffic was terrible. The Santa Ana freeway, they were doing construction on it. And so we finally get there, and my prize, part of my prize, was to make an ice cream sundae for Walt Disney. They put me on an apple box behind the counter, and in walks Walt Disney. And it was so hot that day, miserably hot. And Walt had on a beautiful, I mean, I can see it, a beautiful gray silk suit. It was beautiful. And he comes in, and we shake hands, and he introduces himself to me. Oh, and we started smiling at there was lots of press there, and we're smiling and talking, and they're always saying, just one more, you know, one more shot. So finally, I'm handing the ice cream to Walt, and he's looking at it, and then we're smiling, you know, and all of a sudden I see out of the corner of my eye, it was melting all over that beautiful gray suit. And he laughed. He was, you know, such a good, funny man. And then I got the job and reported to Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. And my mom didn't drive, so my dad would drive us to Annette's house in Encino. And Annette's mom or dad would drive us to the studio in Burbank. And it was make-believe, the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
That's awesome.
All right. There's a lot of gems in that particular episode that, to be honest with you, people who work in the industry, who are actors and stuff, great advice that was in there. So when it's all ready to go, we'll definitely let everybody know. So I am finished with my presentation. So I thank you, gentlemen, very much. So I hope you enjoyed yourself here at the San Gabriel Mission. Even though it was a little hot today, the food was great, and your company was even better. And I thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
Any questions for Father? Me? Okay. Gentlemen, we'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, the meeting is going to be adjourned. Please stand. We're going to say the sing the Salve Regina together. Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, et spes nostra salve. A te clamamus, exules Filii Dei, a te suspiramus, gementes et flentes, in hac lacrimarum vale. Ea ergo, advocata nostra, Dios tuos, misericordes oculos, a nos converte. Jesu, benedictum fructum ventris tui, nobis post exilium,
ostende, o clemens, o pia, o lucis, ergo Maria. Amen. Viva Cristo Rey.
Viva.
Yeah, guys, we are going to need some help cleaning up, okay? So.